All right, I'm Steve. This is Fran. We're here to just answer your questions today. So, what do we got?
All right, let's jump right out. Let's go with the first question here. So, first one comes from Mike and says, "Why don't you like Speed Queen?"
I'm so it's crazy that I get um, I see so many negative comments on our blogs. I don't not like Speed Queen. That's the only brand we're going to be selling in our Nantucket store. There's the first couple of things. There's a lot of very successful influencers on the internet that are paid very well and do a nice job. Okay. But I'm not an influencer. Okay. We don't get paid for anything we do. Also, none of these influencers do a single service call in warranty. We'll do over 100,000 service calls in less than 3 years. More in the next few years. There'll be a time we do 50,000 service calls. That would make us top 3 in the country. So I'm not, I like Speed Queen. I really do. I like the story. I like it's American made. And I think that's important in this country that we consider that. I like it's front serviceable. I like the warranty as long as you can get it fixed 7 years. It's a simple machine, right? But this whole notion from these influencers that it's so much better and never breaks down because they don't see it in their junk shops as much as they do in LG. Well, I mean, LG and Samsung, and I'm not providing any cover for them, sell millions of washers and dryers, and Speed Queen sells tens of thousands. So naturally, I always look at service percentage, and this service percentage is Speed Queen. It's good. LG's is slightly better. In the last year, it was almost a dead heat, right? But you got to understand that if you're going to buy a Speed Queen, you're going to pay a lot more. And again, people say I don't sell. Well, we make more money in Speed Queen than anything else. We, you know, you're going to get less capacity, less efficiency, and you're going to pay more. And as long as everybody's okay with that versus the other thing, warranty, I have no problem. But I'm not going to say it doesn't break down, it's the best value and everything else, because that's that's not, I'm not paid to say that. And I never will, ever. I'm not accepting money, however much money to say that. It's not the case, and it's not for everybody. All right.
Yeah, really, like with Speed Queen too. It's like, so we're ones that we really like too. They have a few different models, and like we've liked the kind of the really old school type of Speed Queen, where that kind of that classic series that comes with a good warranty of 5 years. But it's kind of like an old school washer, a throwback. It's not going to be maybe as efficient, but it's going to use a lot of water. Doesn't have the lid lock on it, but it's kind of that controlled with the knobs more so than the digitally controlled. So we do like that one. And that is absolutely something that we do recommend.
People think it's the old Maytag. My mom had the old Maytag. It's not the old
Maytag. Right.
Nothing is. That machine died 25 years ago already.
Yeah.
Right. What's next?
All right. Next question. This one comes from Eleanor. I need new appliances, and I'm so confused on which ones to purchase for my budget.
It is confusing, right? And we do how to buy appliance webinars that I think people should watch, because it takes people step by step. And the first thing I would say, and we don't have a lot of time, is how do you use your kitchen? What do you value? People have a favorite appliance, right? It's like, typically I say, as an appliance person, you start at your sink and you move around. But what is it? Do you want a super quiet dishwasher? That's probably number 3 on the list. What kind of range? Range is a great place to start. We're doing cooktop wall oven, or we're doing range, and then refrigeration, and then we're doing any ancillary stuff. But start with how you use your appliance and what you like the most, and go from there. And everybody's different, and don't be like everybody, because the way everybody else use it is going to may differ from the way you use it. So your kitchen's for you. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, and then when you're looking really on a budget too, like you said there, there are so many rebates and mail-in rebates that you absolutely want to be aware of, because they can significantly help reduce the overall cost. But you got to make sure you're looking at the details there, like when can you take delivery? When are you making the purchase? Because all those rebates, now there's always typically something, but you want to make sure the ones that you're making that decision on fall within the timeline that you're looking to take your purchase and take your appliances too. So really important there.
These rebate programs have gone on since a year ago, Black Friday. It's been going on for like 13 months. That's not as much of an issue as when to buy. We were always like, hey, you got to buy during these holidays. And yeah, maybe, but they've kept these rebates going since they've had a glut in inventory for almost a year and a half now.
Yeah. Let's take some of these live questions here. So we had a few. We have
We're
let's
at the
see.
time
So
to
we have one here from Pool Ventura, and this is a common question we do get on ventilation and induction. So thoughts on vent requirements when using a 36 induction cooktop? Would something like the 36-inch drawer style hood from Thermador be adequate, or do you always recommend a pro style hood?
Well, it all depends on how you cook. I'm induction doesn't emit. It's 90% efficient. Excuse me, and doesn't emit as much as gas. That said,
Mhm.
I normally, if you're cooking on the front burners, your front burners are about 22 inches. I recommend a hood that's 23 inches deep. You can make it a cabinet hood, and or put tile over, or just a blower, something like that. That's fine. But anything that's 23 inches deep, because typically you're using those front burners. Um, and again, walking on an induction is the same as walking on gas. So it really depends on how you cook. I would say an induction, 400 to 600 CFM, more if you do a lot of grilling, or that type of stuff. I would say.
Yeah. And sometimes too, I'd say with those drawer style hoods that kind of pull out, well, it sounds like you're going to get great capture area there. A lot of times when you actually look at the part that is venting, it's not necessarily always the best amount of capture area. And typically the type of filters that they're using there aren't the really good kind of metal baffle filters. They're more that mesh that do tend to get clogged up a little bit. So you always want to look at that too. While the drawer sounds great, it definitely pulls out, like Steve said, to get that deeper capture area. Look also what the actual spot that is venting there. Where are the actual filters there? It's
Wait a minute.
important to know.
Draw hood. I missed that. What
Like
is
a
that?
pull out. Yeah, they have
You
these.
mean the visor hood? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah,
Don't buy a visor hood. There's no capture to a visor
you're
hood.
right.
Now, we used to sell those in Newtone back in like 1988. They didn't work back then. It's just a single sheet of glass, right? So if you really smoke something up, do you think that sheet of glass is going to capture anything? It doesn't. Don't buy any of those in any brand. I would say that downdraft, over the range microwave are the three things that you shouldn't be buying. Which ironically we sell, but we're a last resort company. Time you come to us, down vent is better than nothing, but that's just not the
Yeah.
standard.
Well, at least tell you. All right, next one. Let's go this one here from Dave. And he says, we're at the time to decide, and you mentioned this earlier, 36-inch range or 36-inch range top wall oven combination.
Okay. All right. Well, how much space do you have? Right. Smaller means you're going with the range, obviously. What you're going to get in a range top wall oven combo. I went wall oven combo myself. I don't bend. Right. I don't bend down like you will on a range. Um, I think that's the allure. Plus, you have the ability to do things on a cooktop wall oven that you cannot do on a range. Like what I did is I put a single oven, speed oven combination. I could put a speed oven on. I'm sorry, a steam oven over. You can't do that on a 36-inch range. So really, first thing is space. Second thing is not bending. Third thing is are we accessorizing? Right. So
Yeah.
that's really how to go about that. Space, not bending, and accessorize.
All right, next question. This one comes from Sharon. Any suggestions for a replacement in an enclosed galley kitchen? I'm considering one without French doors, as I do not need a refrigerator this large. What do I sacrifice if I downgrade from the French door to a single door model?
Um, Really, first things first. In a small galley kitchen, when you go like a not French door, right? And there's some really cool, good 33-inch models. You got a one big door, right? So, it's gonna encompass more of your kitchen. So that's the first thing. But you're not going to get as many options either. You're not going to get the water ice, craft ice, that type of stuff that you would in a French door. Fisher Paykel is the one that comes up. I'm sure like a Man, a KitchenAid have one as well. But you're not going to get as much size, as much choice as well.
Yeah, definitely the French door has become for sure kind of that more common, most popular. So a lot of those feature-rich models definitely tend to go there. And on a single door, depending on the width that you have there, galley kitchen, I'm assuming too, a little bit smaller. You're not going to find that in a 36-inch width unless it's a true built-in refrigerator. But freestanding really is going to kind of max out at a 33-inch width.
Yeah, plus you're going to get the counter depth max versions in a 33, so you're going to get better sizing in a French door as well. So, good question.
Next question. This one comes from Sherry. Will you compare the cost benefit of buying high-end best to average brand best?
So we're looking at, say, cafe versus like Monogram Wolf, Thermador, that type.
Mhm.
Sorry, I've got to silence my microphone. I go in these coughing fits. But first of all, there's a lot of really good what I call affordable luxury. Cafe would be one. Uh, the LG Studio would be a good one as well.
Definitely.
And I think there's great stuff. When you go to, say, the Pro with the compressors on the top, get better construction. Maybe on a Pro range, you get more burners. You get the ability to go grill, griddle, more choices and selections or something. But there is nothing when you go to an average brand best, like you go cafe best. I mean, you're getting a lot of power out of those burners. You get the ability for a double oven. You have some very good refrigerator options that are intuitive, like intuitive dispensers that you don't get on the Pro side. Pro side, I think, you get a much more impressive unit, which is part of it. You get more, I think, in terms of keeping things cold. I think Sub-Zero does the best job in keeping temperature more consistent. But if you're looking to get a really good set of appliances and not spend as much money, it might not look as nice in some people's opinions. You don't get the ability to panelize on a lot of stuff that you do on the average brand best, but nothing wrong with going an average brand best from a feature
Yeah.
standpoint.
Also, I'd say too, longevity, maybe the lifespan of kind of those professional kind of built-in appliances typically will be a little bit longer kind of than what you're seeing maybe with kind of an average brand best kind of freestanding appliances. I mean, you're certainly paying more for those too, but I'd say the lifespan certainly is going to be longer in most cases, of course, average lifespan there. Next question. This one is from Miles. Are extremely connected kitchen devices, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, etc., do they offer or do you see any reliability issues with those?
It's hard to know. Are people even hooking these up when they get them? Really? Um, you know, I'm kind of circumspect. People always say, "Don't get touch screens. Don't do this. Don't do that." I mean, I've had a touch screen on my microwaves in my whole life, and I don't remember a single service problem in any of them. I think the problems you get on appliances are problems that you see on every appliance of everything, and I think there is something to be said that the more features, there is slightly more repair, at least what we see. But I don't see it in a Wi-Fi or touch screen or anything like that. I see the same problems I see all the time: igniters and ranges, compressors, and ice makers and refrigerators. I mean, those are the complaints. You don't see like I don't think we've gotten a call that my Wi-Fi is down. Can you come and fix it? Type of thing in an appliance. I if it has, I haven't seen it. So you know,
Yeah, and a lot of these, it's like you said, who's using it, who's not. A lot of them, you don't really have to use those features. There's just something that's kind of there. I think, for sure in the future, as they get better and more useful, a lot of these, like everything in our life, is going to be more and more connected. But yeah, I definitely don't see issues specifically with those.
there's a couple questions that I want to answer. Yeah,
Yep.
somebody has a reliability question on the LG Wash Tower, and I think that's the gas model he's talking about. And we haven't sold enough of them to really know. But in terms of gas wash towers, but I will say the new wash towers don't seem as reliable as the old ones. I mean, it just made the turnover, so it's hard to know. But I just wrote a blog post I want to say about it about 2 months ago. So if you want to go to that, it gives you the service history of all the wash towers. But one is more reliable than the other, but it's so new to really make that call. And then there's another call. Do y'all think the price of appliances will skyrocket in 2025? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so we've seen them already on a lot of brands have definitely already started to increase pricing now. But the other thing we're seeing is, I think there's brands that are definitely in a little bit of a holding pattern. They're waiting to see kind of, obviously with new administration now this week, what's happening with tariffs. And that is absolutely something that can affect pricing of the appliances. I mean, the stuff that, it comes from all over the world. And, tariffs certainly can have a major impact on appliance pricing that we've already started to see at the beginning of this year and kind of happening with some of the major brands like a Sub-Zero Wolf that will be having price increases here in the next month. And some from brands that we're hearing will have them, but haven't quite announced it yet. And we've been saying this for a little while now. Like if you're shopping and you're kind of set and you kind of think you know what you want, talk to your appliance place and see what it takes to kind of lock in those prices. Because I don't see the prices that are here today, those are really some of the best prices that we're seeing really throughout the year that we feel.
Well, Thermo's already had their price increase of
Mm-hmm.
6 to 13%.
Yeah.
Plus, they took that builder deal down by 2%. So
Yeah.
that's pretty significant. Sub-Zero's got a pretty significant one, March 1. It's a really interesting industry. It's an industry that's going up in price, yet keeping its rebates. So I guess there's a certain amount of flexibility. Um, I would always say get a quote with the local appliance store and stay on top of it.
Yeah.
We don't want to go back 2020. You go back to that. What the problem with the tariffs is that most of the components to make things come from China, and that's a problem, right? When you're talking about tariffing and whatever the number is now, maybe he's just extreme anchoring and bluffing, perhaps, but that's a pretty serious problem when the parts when you need 34 pieces to put a dishwasher together and you're getting tariffed on 16 of them. There is some fear that the appliances will skyrocket this year. They haven't yet. I mean, there's been some price increases, but you still have some pretty good rebate programs. So hard to really know just yet.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, how I would buy an appliance today? And I don't make any money saying this either. I swear to God. They're still getting 0% financing. You're getting 0% for a year. And you just leave the money in the bank and you can make 4.5%, right? So it'll insulate you from the price increase if you put it on a financing program and you're making more money in the bank. Yeah, you got to pay a 12th, a 12th, a 12th, and a 12th now. But I can't believe that the 0% deals are still going on.
Yeah.
Given the fact that you can make 4.5% in your bank. So that might be a good alternate strategy. It might be.
Take this one too from Dave, and this is another common question that we get. It's thoughts on mixing manufacturers of cooking appliances.
It depends. First of all, I think you should mix whatever you want. It's your kitchen. That said, mixing a Gagano and a Miele might look a little odd, right? Because one's got like that gray finish, the other's got a bright metal finish. So you want to be a little circumspect. I mean, you want your kitchen to look good as well. But I have no problems doing that. I mean, I've owned a Thermo Pro Top and I own a Wolf Pro Top now. I'd mix them. I mean, I don't think that aesthetic has really changed all that much. Where I would really consider is putting a different steam oven over a different wall oven. I think that you might have some aesthetic overload, or you might not. I mean, again, it's your kitchen. But I don't need problems doing that.
Yeah, and you definitely see it a lot too. If someone really, if someone's trying to pick, not every brand makes the best of everything. So if you're truly trying, you really want to have the best steam oven, and then maybe you're doing something else for your induction or gas cooktop or range or something like that. Absolutely, you can see that. Certainly, like you said, it's kind of a personal preference. Some people will notice that difference much more than others. Some may never notice it. And then sometimes when you're looking at packages or promotions and things like that, certainly you can maximize sticking within the same brand, but we see it both ways a lot. All right, next question. This one is from Eve. Best gas hob for a 70-year-old.
You're looking at me because I just turned 60, aren't you?
Not yet.
Nice. Okay. I would think that basically what they're saying is they want knobs accessible, and you can do that on any pro range if you want to do that. I mean, that's an extreme way to get easier controls. But on a pro range, they're kind of facing you. You don't have to go on the top. It's facing. That's pretty easy. Wolf has that same thing in a cooktop as well, where the knobs come out of the cabinets. That might be a good option. Otherwise than that, most of the ones have them central. Like Thermador comes to mind. Wolf's got them on the right hand side, I believe, that are pretty easy to control.
Right corner there, yeah.
Viking's a little, they've got theirs on the side. That might be a problem, but I would say between all those, you should be able to get something that's better for you.
Okay, perfect. All right, next question. This one's from Heather. I'd like to learn more about induction cooking. What pans can be used, speed, etc.
Well, stainless steel pots only, right? And you can, the way you figure out if it's induction compatible is you put a magnet on the bottom of it, or you can come into one of our stores and pop it on an SKS cooktop. It'll give you the percentage of ferrous metal. The higher the content of ferrous metal, the better performing that cookware is. And SKS offers that on their cooktops. That said, I mean, an induction burner's excellent. Faster, way better on the simmer. Way better. Because you can go to like 1 watt on a simmer, and you can't do that on a gas. Gas will kick off. Easier to vent, easier to clean, more child safe because you can't turn it on accidentally. The only one caveat to that is when you shut it off, there is some residual heat, but it's not as much as an electric cooktop. So I really like induction. However, changing from gas to induction requires something more than just the plug. You need an electrician to get the amperage from 12 to 30 to 50, depending on.
Yeah, and definitely, like you said, we're big fans of induction. There's no question. I think, the speed, the simmer, just the control on those just, we always say, like, kind of those dishes that you're so used to making, you test them out a little bit, because the speed and how you cook can definitely change the timing of how you do certain things. So we would say have your stuff ready, because induction definitely will be faster than gas for sure.
Yes, no question.
All right, next question. This one is from KT. Most critical items to update to get the best return if selling a house?
This is an unfortunate question, which goes to our favor. I used to be a trustee in a building. They were sold a defective shingle, so I had to replace the roof, right? And the questions people should ask is, how's your roof? How are your walls? How's your basement? But really, what sells a house is, and you can see it in real estate. Kitchens with Sub-Zero Wolf would be number 1.
Yeah.
Miele would be number 2. Thermador would be number 3. Those are the best. And the most critical item, I would say, would be a Pro Range. If you want a return on investment. When I lived in Brookline until 2003. I put Fisher Paykel appliances in. That's all I did to my unit. Sold it because it's got a unique look. But really, that's it. Put a name brand, and I don't advocate that. But Sub-Zero Wolf, Miele, Thermador, and some sort of that combination is going to sell your house better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just that quick refresh. And even though and I always say too, like, just that kind of new look, stainless steel, like if you don't have stainless steel, just even changing to that kind of updated look, and you don't have to spend a ton of money. I think just freshening that up is a huge difference in the kitchen for sure.
Sorry, absolutely. Here's an interesting one. Is there a specific cadence of updates of Miele appliances, especially with induction cooktops and steam ovens, that we're looking to buy? They just changed their steam ovens with that vapor control, where you can cook, you can cook several different things at once, and it'll tell you when those things are ready. I love steam ovens, especially the Miele. I've got the Wolf, because it's so intuitive. You're just touching buttons to get things done. You don't have to figure it out. It's
figured Master Chef
and their induction cooktop. That's coming out, isn't it?
It just came out, the new one too, and it has the flex burners on there, similar to what you see with some of the other brands. Like, really has improved a lot. Nice, really kind of touch controls, but pretty easy to use controls as well. So they've kind of really revamped that with their new induction cooktop as well.
They also have more wattage. Nice thing about Miele is I honestly like Sub-Zero Wolf and Miele are kind of like, I think, the luxury go-tos in my personal opinion. But the nice thing about Miele is they make their own controls. Most of the things, like you see Monogram and Blue Star. They're coming out with their new range, and wouldn't you know it, they both have the same 7-inch touchscreen controls. But
Yeah.
with Miele, everything is so unique because they had 230 people working in controls. So
So this one, next question kind of piggybacks on that. It says from Tom, it says, what size steam oven from Miele would you recommend? The XL or XXL? And is the plumbed option worth it?
I can tell you that I do not have a plumbed option in my Wolf. I fill it up, and I haven't run out of water except when I didn't add water. So really, but it really depends. Um, we should know how long it takes, and we have a chef to do all this stuff now that works on staff. But I don't think in normal use you really need to worry about it so much. It'd be a lot more convenient not to refill that tank every once in a while, but I do.
Yeah.
In
And
terms of that,
sometimes for the cleaning too, it can be a little more convenient, but definitely not necessary to have it plumbed. Sometimes the installation can be more difficult too to get that plumbed unit, whereas a regular non-plumbed unit, it's really just the same as installing a wall oven and just have kind of your normal power there and you're good to go.
and I guess really depends sizes, depends on what you want to do with it, obviously. But I love their controls, those Master
Yeah.
Chef controls, or the new Wolf controls. You can even reheat crispy or reheat humid now. In addition to reheating, you just hit a button. It's freaking. Excuse me.
Next one. Next question is from, so this one is from Alan. Is there a design for an oven where one of the shelves is circular and electrically controlled by a switch or button on the outside to do a 180-degree rotation so that I don't have to open the oven door during baking to rotate a cake pan?
Maybe 60, 70 years ago when appliances were really interesting. I mean, there was some very interesting stuff. Especially in our area, Massachusetts, Glenwood, Caloric. They were all based here at one time. And there's all sorts of very interesting things, but no, there isn't. Here's one, that I like. I bought an LG fridge that's advertised as counter depth. Those counter depth refrigerators, they're still called counter depth. But what they did to make what they did with the counter max to make them bigger is the door is really a lot thicker than it used to be, right? So that, unfortunately, that LG Studio 27 cubic foot is a counter depth.
Yeah, and really what you get with those, that's really all those counter depths. So the door typically is always going to stick out. And what you'll notice even with the zero clearance hinge, so LG now has that zero clearance, that it's still going to be 24, 25 inches deep, really, the body and the door sticking out from there. To get as close as you want as a counter depth, you'd really be looking at more of an integrated kind of a professional refrigerator. And even those would still be 25 inches deep to kind of get that fully integrated look. But that's where you can get it that it's really kind of flush with your cabinets, not sticking out at all. But you're really kind of jumping up to a professional built-in refrigerator at that point to get that sort of look there. On your freestanding, they're really all going to be, when you include the door, definitely a bit deeper than that 24 inches.
Yeah, I agree. It's a deeper door. Although the one thing you can do is get the new one with the zero clearance hinge. The door isn't as thick, and the hinge opens on itself, so you're not adding any additional width.
All right, I think we got time for one more question here.
Yeah, someone's been talking about Wolf for a while. Will Wolf update their speed oven? Seems like the design is 4 years old. I don't think they make their own speed ovens, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So whenever their OEM provider makes it, I don't see any changes coming. Do you? I mean, we haven't.
No, they've kind of recently, over the last year or so, just had kind of new models anyways there, with a little bit wider on the inside, and the controls updated a little bit as well. But yeah, I don't see anything. There's definitely nothing in the works right now that we're aware of that they're going to be changing those right now.
Yeah, and one other thing, there's been enough time to come to any conclusion on the Bosch induction ranges manufactured by Smeg. We don't sell a lot of those. It's a nice looking range. I've always had a problem personally, from a repair standpoint, on anything Italian. I think they make great products in terms of design. I think the oven's too small. I think there's too much service on them, to be quite honest with you. But we haven't sold enough of them to really comment on that yet. I don't think, or I need to look, one of the two.
And I guess we'll just follow up again with Tom, just last one here. So just a follow up, just going back, is the Miele XXL better over the XL? And yeah, maybe we weren't clear there, but I would say the XL, they're very similar. And I would say if you have the space for the XXL, I like that because certainly it gives you more room. It's going to steam just as well as the smaller one, the way the Miele has that. It's really a great oven. If you don't have the space for it, the XL definitely is fine. Really, the only difference there obviously is that size. You can fit really an extra rack there in the XXL over the XL. But I wouldn't say one's necessarily much better than the other. They're both going to do a really great job and have the same controls and features, really. It's just you'll get that kind of like really one extra rack on the XXL.
Yeah, I guess a couple last points. If anybody's having problems with their kitchen renovation or just starting, we are having a webinar, kitchen renovation mistakes to avoid. I'm hosting it, and I'm probably the most qualified person in this country, seeing that I've had 9 projects in 10 years and messed up 7 of them or 6 of them. But I've learned so you won't. But really, if you're in the weeds, it's February 5th, noon, I believe it is. Again, I think it's just a good resource for someone who's starting or someone who project is going a little bit sideways. We have a lot of good resources, and it's going to be a great download for you too, because you're gonna be able to ask somewhere in the vicinity of 40 and 80 questions to the people that you might have that might be a contractor. So you're going to be very well prepared by the end of them. You can just, whatever that QR code does, you can just QR and register, and it's free.
Are you there? Yeah. And lastly, just an exciting note for Yale here. Just want to mention on Monday, January 27th, we will be officially open in our new Hyannis location. Really excited for that. Really going to be geared towards that builder, designer, trade community there. So we're really excited for that, and we're going to be open officially Monday, January 27th there.
And then we're going to be in Nantucket. Hopefully, we got a Nantucket place that's got like apartments downstairs. Hopefully, I can get one of them, say around summertime. Although I doubt it.
We'll see what we can work out for.
Yeah. Alrighty. We'll be back in a couple weeks, and stay warm.